Hello?
Hello?
I want to record to the cloud. I want to record to my device.
It should be good, Gary. I got it.
Oh, you got it. Okay, thanks, Nathaniel.
You're welcome.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's having a fine week here and near the end of July. We're going to be in a new month next week. That's hard to believe. And especially important since the eclipse is coming up every 24 hours. It gets a day closer. So funny how that works. I don't have a lot of stuff on the agenda today. I've got some, Ed's got some updates for us. I know I got a couple of questions about Facebook, the SEQP scoring committee. I've got a couple of comments. We've got some science questions if possibly, especially if Steve Serwin joins us, and we'll see what else. Is there anything that anybody else wants to add to the agenda before I can write it down before we get started? No. Okay, good. Two things before I forget. Actually, one thing, Gary, I sent the SEQP cards off to you, and I also got the set out the box off to you, Bill. So you guys are going to be all set. I was going to order more, but I saw that Randy KB3 FIH or whatever his college is on vacation this week, so there's no use trying to get that going with him this week. I'll take care of that next week. Okay, that's out of the way. Ed, I'm sure you've got some good news for us. I know you've been doing a lot of stuff with the league on the club front.
Yeah, we're doing a little bit. So and I'll try to be quicker, this week than we were last. So because I know you've got a lot of other agenda items. But as is usual, let me yield the first couple of minutes over to Mackenzie. Okay, in terms of her schedule. So over to you, KO4GLN, WX2R.
Thank you, Ed. Good afternoon, everybody. I just have a quick update. So I've made some inquiries with several English-speaking hams in the Caribbean, Central and South America to gather and validate information. So English-speaking leadership contacts were identified, and the SEQP package was emailed to the following countries: Mexico, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela, Bermuda, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, and Trinidad and Tobago. And also a comment about Trinidad. The president was receptive and participated in the 2017 SEQP, so that's pretty good. I also plan on sending subsequent follow-up emails every 2 weeks. Well, after 2 weeks, not every 2 weeks. I'm also waiting a couple responses to the inquiry email I sent out to other countries, and I will upload the contact spreadsheet. I actually already did that. The contact spreadsheet is in the Google Drive for ham size. So Gary or Ed, if you would like to look at that. It is a work in progress, but I'm getting there. I promise that will be done soon. So I'm also thinking about mailing a letter with the ham site introductory letter, a call to action letter for the SEQP, a flowchart, and some contest rules, like physically mailing it to these people. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. I wanted to run that by you first, if you think so.
Yeah, obviously we've got an issue with language, but we can help you with translation if need be on this. So
I'd send it to the English speakers first,
okay.
And then we can get it translated. I just wanted to make sure that's good to go.
Yeah.
Okay,
well, obviously we need people. Yeah, and I know Nick is going to add a little bit in terms of his Brazilian contact. So after you, I'll just turn it right over to Nick. So.
Gotcha. Also, Gary, I was going to ask you if you could possibly send me a digital copy of the business card that you sent to Ed for the SEQP.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Do you need the logo or the full card, the front and back with the QR code and all that?
Yes, the full front and back, please.
Front and back.
And
Okay.
the last thing is I would like to know if there's a need to place grape SDR receivers in any of the countries I stated. I was asked about this by one of the amateur radio operators in Trinidad.
I would say no for the moment because we're having enough trouble getting them placed here in the United States, and because I think we'll do it, but there are complications. And the other thing is to interpret the data when you get farther and farther and farther away from WWVH or WWV, it becomes more and more complicated. So we're going to focus just on getting the US situated first with the grapes, and then we'll go look at other countries later.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. That's all I have, Ed. Sorry.
Okay. Thanks, Mackenzie. That's a good update. So, yep. And just, a quick note on Trinidad. Ria Jiram and N2RJ also obviously is Trinidadian. So, but we had a brief conversation the other day, and she was saying, if you had difficulty, which you've not, to reach out to her because she would be of help to us. But her suggestion also is with our Trinidadian contact is that you might reach out if they know anyone in Venezuela, because apparently there are some cross contacts there. So,
Okay,
so that might shorten the path as well too. So,
gotcha.
okay. So yeah, let me turn it over to Nick, because Nick has some work in terms of talking about Brazilian contact. So Nick, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Ed. What I did was I had a couple of Brazilian names initially. One of them passed my, information sheet on to 2 other contacts, haven't moved on yet. However, the other contact was a fellow by the name of Martin.
Nick, your audio is not that good. It sounds muffled and far away from the mic.
Okay, is this any better?
Nah, not
Marginally.
really.
Mhm.
That's peculiar. This has always been a working system before. Let's see, no better. Okay, maybe I need to play around some, if you want to continue with the session until I can see what's wrong here. Back to you, Ed.
Okay. Thanks, Nick, on that. So, and obviously we'll follow, okay, in terms of what we need to do. So,
Okay, hopefully I can fix this and I'll get back to you.
yeah, perfect
Okay.
on that. So, yeah. So anyway, and also next week, I think we should talk a little bit more in terms of just looking at the AM/SWL outreach, because obviously the calendar moves to August. So we should put that on our list for next week. So anyway, just a couple items here, and I'll try to be mercifully short. Just in terms of picking up from where we were last week, I think we mentioned that we were scheduling contest dates on ARL.org, and CQ and QST. That was completed on Monday through the league in Newington. We also placed a tentative ad campaign on ARL.org from September 14th until October 14th. And for that, we also had to redesign the SEQP ad to make it fit in terms of the tiles, and we got that done, I think, on Wednesday. So that was done. If you remember last week, Gary, AB4 GA, took us through a video script, sort of a first video script. In terms of putting something up online. I'm going to preempt Gary today, just, in terms of timing, and also the fact that he sent a revision just a couple of minutes before the meeting here. So, Gary, we'll reach out, okay, take a look at the revision. Okay. And then from there, I think if we're good with it, obviously pass it on to Nathaniel. And then from there, we can talk about it as a next week item. So Gary, I think you're good with that, right?
This Gary's good with it.
This Gary's good with, that's right. Too many Garys, right? So, and Gary, I see Gary
Yeah.
shaking his head. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
the only note I want to make is that on there, when it said, let's see here. Hold on a second. Okay, what it says, don't miss out on the incredible opportunity to be part of the AMSI community, operate on all bands and all modes except the WARC bands. Visit amsci.org today to learn more. He moved that down to the bottom as the last sentence. He says it flows better. He says you've got a statement and then an action. So that was the only thing. And in the notes before, it was visit amsci.org today to learn more, and then operate on all bands. So he kind of switched it.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Okay, that's all I had.
All edits are good. So thank you on that. So yeah, so we'll get a chance to review it, and we'll put it as an agenda item for next week, so we can take it off the table ASAP on that. So, and thank you, Gary, to you, obviously to your family, and obviously for all the hard work here in terms of getting this done. So just a couple of other items in terms of where we are. We've recruited Nomar Vizcarrando, NP4H, as I think we might have mentioned last week, who's the new ARL Hudson Division Director, to set up an SEQP Zoom meeting for us. And Gary, AF8A, is going to be our presenter. I think the date was August 8th, if I'm not mistaken, Gary.
Maybe in the 18th.
I don't have.
or whatever.
I forgot to put the date on my calendar, and I saw him last night. I should have reminded him. So, because he's sending the meeting notice out. And, you know, this is obviously, we're going to look at the shortened version of the SEQP presentation, which Gary did for, I think, Gary, I'm speaking for you here, for the North Dakota presentation a couple of weeks back. But, you know, my thinking here is that, you know, we can get, if we, obviously getting Nomar to do a division presentation makes it easier to talk to some of the other directors in terms of lending good offices, if they would at least, you know, get a Zoom meeting on their calendar. And then from there, for directors that we can't get to cooperate, I put together a section list that we might be able to go through, so that we get it, so we try to get to as many different hands, either individually or through clubs, through August and into early September. I'd like to have most of this done by Labor Day, if we can do it. So obviously, you know, it's a lot of setups, but hopefully we can get a lot of presentations done in the meantime. So I mean, so that those are those two pieces. We do have a press release that's going to go out on or about August 1st, which is we talked about a formal launch in August, sort of a reminder to save the date. And here's the SEQP, you know, QSO party. I've mentioned to Mackenzie ahead of the meeting that we'll be sending that on to her. And we're going to run it obviously on Amateur Radio Newsline, QRZ, our usual suspects. In terms of getting that material out, just, you know, and be obviously the first of a campaign in terms of just keeping in front of people what's going on here. So also working with Bill Johnson from Halstead PR on general public media. I didn't get as much done as I wanted to this week, but I'm going to try to pick up on that a little bit more. We're talking about Scientific American, Popular Electronics. He's going to pitch the New York Times and NPR. You know, as possibilities for us, if not necessarily for the October piece, certainly going into the April eclipse over there in terms of that one. And then the other two pieces that I've got really in terms of outreach right now is that in timing with our August 1st PR launches that I also want to do. If you remember early on, back I think in March or April, we talked about a media pitch, and we actually sort of moved it around to everybody. Everybody had a chance to see it. We're actually going to put it out in the field. We're going to start with bloggers first, and obviously, you know, people who are doing you know, either podcasts, you know, or bloggers, because we want to get our people on the air, and obviously, you know, people talking about the SEQP and getting people involved. So my target is from 3 to 5 initially, and just sort of knowing the audiences that everybody sort of follows each other. So if we can get 2 or 3 people, you know, very, very quickly. I know we've got N2RJ, who said that she would do a podcast with Nathaniel about the SEQP. And obviously, if we could pick that up and get some other people on board, Bob Heil, you know, as an example, that type of thing, I think we'll be good with that. And then just the last other, my to-do, you know, for next week is, I think we also mentioned the fact that Desiree Backus, who's on the ARL PR committee, had provided us with a list of NASA ham clubs, and we need to go back and do some outreach with them, because obviously they're going to be doing something, and we want to have them on, you know, on board in terms of not only participating, but also sharing any other activities that we need to do, or that they want to do, that we can possibly pick up on, and that we could leverage back as you know, to Mike Walters over at ARRL. Going back to our brainstorming session 2 weeks ago, we sort of repackaged that list of 10 items or 10 ideas that we had last week or 2 weeks ago, and we're prepared to move that over to Mike so that he can pick it up for a column that he's going to be doing for us on ARL Club News in the upcoming issue. So, Gary, that's basically where we are. So we try to be a little quicker than last week, but that's where we are. And obviously, you know, we'll be picking up Gary AB4GH's script as a primary item for next week. So back to you.
Okay,
Sorry, Gary, is that any better?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Nick. Yeah, that's
that's
much
good,
better.
Nick.
Yeah, okay. All right, maybe I should finish off my little report then.
Yep, sure.
Yeah,
Wait,
there's a,
really quick question first, Ed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you follow up with Mitzi Adams from NASA down at?
Gary, I think you did, right? So we didn't miss connections on that?
yes, I did. I
Yep.
told her, I sent her some information back, like last week.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Nick.
okay. Yeah, so the gentleman that I got hold of, his name is Martin Butera, and he works out of Brazil. He's Argentinian originally. He, you know, does a number of sort of blogs, video presentations, and he's a journalist as well. It turns out that he writes for CQ. So he was quite interested. Now, my approach was, you know, like I wanted to find out if there were places in Brazil where I could, get interest for the medium wave listening project. But I mentioned, by the way, that as he was a journalist, he might be interested in finding out more about Hamsai's whole Eclipse project. And he seemed really, really interested in this. So, I sent him a bunch of reading material, and this was about 5 or 6 days ago, and I haven't heard back since. He said that that was his first thing, was he was going to, read over it, and see, just get himself up to speed as to what was going on. But he might well be, and he is a ham as well. So it's, he might well be a good contact for, for Hamsai to get started, for the Solar Eclipse QSO party. The one question I had was that he said, oh, well, CQ would be interested in an article about this. And I didn't really know quite what was in the pipes as far as that was concerned. Is there anything else coming down the road from about the SEQP for CQ? Does anybody know?
I don't know of anybody that's working on anything, no.
Okay, I just didn't, and I assume, seeing he has contacts with the editors and so forth, that they tell him right out that they were already doing this. But this, that's something that might be of interest.
Yeah.
But really, our interest is getting sort of something going in South America itself, and I have tried to emphasize that. He is, he has an international reach himself, but. Hopefully we can get something going in South America. You said there's not a lot going on in the SWL clubs and so forth there, but he'd try and get something going. So anyway, back to you.
Yeah, well, Nick, I can reach out to Rich Moses and W2VU. I mean, the only question that I have right at the top of my head is that it's August and he's probably on the October issue. So if we're looking really in terms of, sort of what, for the October event, it may be a little too late, but obviously that doesn't preclude us from anything that we want to do going forward, for the April. I'll put that on my to-do list and get back to you.
Yeah, I did mention that to him, that I thought that it would be short term, very short notice for the October eclipse. But anyway, I'll let you know when I hear more. Okay,
really good.
fine.
Thank you. Yep. So Gary, back to you.
Okay. I did find the emails to and from Mitzi Adams, and it was back on July 19th. I offered her up the presentation. She said there may be some clubs in the area that would be interested, and directed her toward a couple of projects, so she should be good.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure. Question for Ed or Mackenzie, maybe. At one time, we talked about trying to put out something on the Hamsai Facebook page, weekly, say on a Monday or something like that. Is that happening, or I've got an idea, but I just want to know where you guys were at with that.
Yes, I was sorry, I was trying to unmute my microphone. Yes, the plan is to post every Monday.
Okay.
So if you have any ideas, I would gladly take them. I also posted the space weather article. I don't know if you saw that, but I posted that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And obviously we've got the release next week, so we'll have content. So
yes, awesome.
Yeah. One of the things I also thought about having, because I did the West Essex Club here in New Jersey last night, we're sort of FAQs that come up from presentations. That also makes some really good content for, for example, logging, that type of thing, how to make it work. I mean, the other idea that came out of it last night was, going back to the idea that the ideation that we had 2 weeks ago, is that they plan to do like a second field day, because they just think it's a real good opportunity to get out and showcase ham radio at the same time. So, those types of things make for good content just on a regular basis.
So you're doing this on the Facebook page, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Can you post some of them to actual blog posts on hamsci.org as well?
I guess what I need to do is to see since I don't have a Facebook account, see what's been going up there and see if I can move it to our website too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we haven't posted in a while. Good point.
Yeah. That the main hamsci.org is a little stale there. So
Yeah, I've not made a whole lot of changes to that and anything. You're right. So, okay, we'll take a look at that. One of the ideas I had, Mackenzie, I know it started probably back in April when I started building my grape. I had a couple of progress type photos, and I finally finished the thing. It's up and running and actually working. So maybe I could send you something if you can use it in a couple of weeks. Great.
Yeah, and the other thing, not to belabor it, but also just on this point of social media, I know Mackenzie and I dropped her a note yesterday or day before regarding Reddit. I mean, that's a pretty, I won't say, very vibrant amateur radio piece, but there are a lot of people that post there. And so it's it's a different audience for us. And it's obviously it's younger than a couple of the other blogs. So, obviously we'll keep that in front of us. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and Ed, I don't see anything in my calendar for that Hudson Division thing. If
Yeah,
you talk to him,
I'll tap it. I'll tap Nomar. I know, I thought it was the 8th. I think he mentioned it, but I'll get back and I'll let you know. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I know the 8th is the NOAA Zoom call and stuff, but I think that's a Tuesday, so whatever, but
Okay.
I
Okay.
got time.
Yep. I'll get back.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thanks for all that, everyone. There's a lot happening, obviously, to get the word out. And I think some of the best is yet to come too, with August and September coming up ahead of us. Let's see, what else did I have on there today? Where'd my notes go? I know he's not here today, but Bill Lyles, I wanted to give him a thank you too, because he's at an IEEE antenna conference this week, and there's an amateur radio booth set up there. And Bill took some of our graphics that we had used and the posters from the Hamvention, resized them and had some much smaller posters made and stuff for their table and stuff there. But unfortunately, many of the amateurs that were supposed to be at the booth and help work the booth ended up doing emergency communications because there was a wildfire nearby. So anyhow, I'm not sure if we got the traffic there that we wanted, but we at least we gave it the old college try. Okay, let's see. So next thing I want to talk about is the Solar Eclipse QSO Party to the Scoring Committee. We've had 3 people come back and say they volunteer. They say they've got some experience looking at large data sets and boiling them down and analyzing them. And one of the thoughts that I had is one is to get that group together, of course, but also I think we've got a kind of unique situation, a very good one, in that they can actually look at the 2017 data and use that as a practice set before October. I know that obviously the PSK reporter and Whisper Demon, all those databases still exist. They can pull all of that. But the logs, the SEQP logs that Ham sent in from 2017, Nathaniel, will that stuff be available for like
It's
testing?
it's all available and posted on a Zenodo repository. So I can
Okay.
give you a link to that right now. In fact, if you look very carefully, I think in the 2017 Geophysical Research Letters article, I think it has a link to that Zenodo repository. I'm checking right now. If you look under, it's under supporting information. Anyway, I'll post the link in the chat in a second.
Okay, that'd be helpful. Yeah, because I mean, really, if you're going to write code, you've got a data set to work from that's valid, because we really haven't changed the rules significantly at all, really. So that gives them something to work with.
Yeah, I have it right here. So I'll put this in the chat. Have to set the chat to everyone in meeting. There you go. So all of the 2017 SEQP data and logs are all in one place right there.
Fantastic. Thank you. That'll makes it a little bit easier. Quite a bit easier.
You're welcome.
And also, Bob ACHZU offered to be kind of a tester. He says he doesn't have the skills necessary to do the coding to jump in with both feet and help the people actually writing the software. But he says he'd be glad that they could bounce ideas off of him, or he could help them test or whatnot too. So that was kind of a 4th volunteer. So that was good to see. Okay, let's see what else. I guess do you want to bring up the discussion on the grape frequency, Nathaniel, or is that better saved for another time?
Well, I can bring it up. Basically, we have to choose a single grape frequency for the October event because we're just deploying grape 1s for October. I think we're whittling it down to just listening to WWV because that's centrally located in the United States. And I think we have the most experience with 5 and 10 megahertz WWV. I think we're leaning towards 10 megahertz WWV right now because from the discussion this morning, at least anecdotally, it sounded like people can routinely hear 10 megahertz WWV and monitor that during the day. whereas 5 megahertz WWV gets absorbed. So while it might be possible that the eclipse may allow 5 megahertz WWV to happen during the eclipse, I think it would be better to have something where we see it both before and after, and we have a look at the transitions and have a possibility of seeing it during the eclipse too. So my current vote is 10 megahertz WWV. We're hoping to have more discussions with Steve Serwin, who's unfortunately his well in Texas is having trouble right now, and then he's also having some guests over this afternoon, so he couldn't be on today's meeting. But it's going to get some more input from him. I'm open to hearing ideas from other people on the call as to which frequency to monitor for the grapes for October. Sounds like everyone's very agreeable to 10 megahertz.
Yeah, those were the reasons Gary suggested 10 megahertz. I was talking to him about putting up an antenna. So, yep, sounds good to me. I can do either, but
Wonderful.
10 megahertz would be good.
I do think for this to make the data easier to interpret and to make the configuration logistically simpler, and right now all the logistic simplicity we can afford, we need. I think doing 10 megahertz across the board for the October eclipse is the way to go. And one kind of nice thing about this, I think not just us, but I was on another citizen science call earlier this week with NASA for the heliophysics big year. I think a lot of people are kind of taking the October annular eclipse kind of as like the dress rehearsal for the total solar eclipse. So one of the nice things is if for some reason we make a decision that doesn't work out as well as we'd hope, we can say, oh, lessons learned, we're going to try this in April. But I think the decisions we're making, I think we're making the best decisions we can with the information we have. So.
Good. Yeah, I don't think you'll get a whole lot of pushback on 10 megahertz. That seems to be everyone's preferred.
Hey,
That's good to
Nathaniel.
know.
Yes.
Hey, so if it doesn't work, you've also always got the excuse that the ionosphere changed on us.
There are lots of ways to spin this. But we'll hope for the best. And the other nice thing with these projects is like there are a lot of there's a lot of different ways we can claim success. So yes, if something doesn't quite work out, with the grapes, we're trying to get them deployed. We're trying to make measurements on a daily basis, not just during the eclipse. That's part of the grant as well. So, we'll get those observations in, and yeah. But I think trying to go all out, make sure that we have put our best foot forward for the October eclipse and get the best data we can is absolutely the best thing to do, and hope that works out for the best. And if there are any glitches or troubles or whatever, then we go to our backup plans. But I think, full speed ahead on October.
I know, speaking of grapes, I spent a good part of this afternoon trying to take an accounting of the 20 or 21 people who've agreed to either augment their existing stations to add the GNU radio digital RF format or put up new stations. And most people, like some of those on the call here today, like Ward and others, said, hey, we'd like to buy our own equipment. You just tell us how to hook it up and get us the proper image and that sort of stuff, and we'll move forward. So at this time, it seems like there's very few complete stations we need to supply. I'm pleasantly surprised at that, but that also leaves a lot of variability if we've got 15 or 20 people all building their own. So what I'd like to do, Ward, is I will send you the component list probably later today. And if you could take a look at that and see what you think about the documentation I've provided and how easy it will be to follow, that will help a lot, quite a bit, before I send it out to the other station. Okay, anything else in the grape or from the science world, I guess I'd say. Okay.
So this is a question from any other science questions you're asking?
Right.
Let's see. I don't, maybe go to Gareth, see if he has any comments.
No comments at the moment for me, actually. I would also like to vote my support for 10 megahertz.
Great.
Other science questions, no, nothing off the top of my head.
Okay. I guess one other announcement from the science side is you did put out an advertisement for 5 postdoctoral positions today on the CDAR or AGU lists, or one of those, right?
All of them, yeah. So, yeah, I guess I should mention that. Yeah, we put out, NJIT put out a ad for hiring up to 5 postdocs. And one of those would be working on the grant this kind of you and I have with it. So spread the word. We're taking, the goal is to cast a wide net and generate a giant pool of candidates. And go from that. So big hiring effort.
That sounds great. Thank you, Gary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're hoping to find a good postdoc who can really help handle the analysis here. Back over to you, Gary.
Okay, great. Actually, I've about reached the end of my list. I do want to give a quick plug. Tonight is the regularly monthly meeting of the WWV Amateur Radio Club. I don't know that we've had any Dave Schwartz and company have any big programs planned. I'll be talking about the North American QSO party a little bit. We want to get the club involved in a little bit of contest activity out there in Colorado and of course all the members across the US. So if somebody's interested in the WWV ARC, www.arc.org, and the meeting details should be available there.
And the meeting starts on time, right, Gary?
Yeah, it's to the millisecond or microsecond or something, nanosecond.
So what time does it start?
6 p.m. Mountain.
Yep. Should be 00. It should be midnight Zulu if I remember. Okay. Is there anything else anybody else wants to bring up? Open discussion relative to our activities?
Yeah.
Sure, Jay. Go ahead.
Yeah. Nathaniel.
Yes.
First of all, I got your email.
Great.
And I just wanted to clarify that, the purpose of that was not that to dictate, what language we should do, but hopefully it can, and I realize that, other people are going to do whatever they, whatever language, but hopefully that those documents give them some ideas of, and some things that, oh yeah, do this and, oh, don't do that.
Yeah.
To keep the software maintainable, updatable, and as tool agnostic as possible. So it doesn't matter who wrote your compiler, linker, debugger, that your code is going to behave the same way.
Yes.
So, and also in terms of your day job, if you might want to tell your colleagues on your day job that says, hey, this is what's going on in the real world now. So our students, they have to be prepared to deal with this. And here's an example. Now, and if they want those documents, these are licensed documents. So the ones I sent you, they have to stay in the ham side domain.
Right.
But, for $40, the university can get their own copy and do whatever they want.
Right.
So, Gary, when it comes to that software requirements document I wrote, if anybody wants to talk about it, and the goal there is to create software to get away from spaghetti code, from to try and get stuff that it doesn't matter who wrote it, that if somebody else wrote it, person A wrote it, and then person B wants to use it, or 5 years or a year from now reuse it, and person A is gone, they can pick it up and don't have to wonder what is going on here or why or things like that. So those were some of my reasons for creating that document. And I'd be happy to discuss whoever is writing the code to have a one-on-one with them or talk to them about it and, feel out their thoughts. Nothing that I wrote there should be considered, as a message, to quote a line from the Blues Brothers movie, on a mission from God. Or wait a minute, we're hams on a mission from W1AW himself, the original. So, be happy to work with whoever. And again, the goal is, maintainable, portable, updatable. Multiple people are going to be able to write something that everybody else is going to be able to pick up and go, oh yeah, that's it, and not have to spend 5 days trying to understand it. Anyway, enough of that. Back to net control.
No, you're right, Jay. That makes a lot of sense.
Go ahead, Gary.
Okay. Yes, Nathaniel?
No, just go ahead.
Okay. That's about it. If there's nothing further, we could call it a wrap for this evening. Good. All right, everyone. Thanks. I've got my tasks written down. I got to get back to a few of you on a few things, but it shouldn't be a problem. And we'll keep it moving forward until next week.
I have just
right, everyone.
I have one aside for maybe just for Nathaniel. I had put out an alert about the problems with the RX 888, and I wanted to let you know that we think we've identified the problem as poor thermal control, and it can be corrected. So I think the sites with the 888, and there seem to be many within this HAMSI group, several at least, that have purchased them already. Don't use them yet, because you could permanently damage them. But they can be fixed very easily. And we'll be posting up as we test it. We'll be posting up some instructions. I tried to subscribe to the Tapper, or rather to the HAMSI group, but I'm not sure I'm a member, so I didn't know that I could post this information. I just wanted to be sure that anybody in here who's has on order a 888, be cautious about using it until we understand how to use them safely and modify them to make them work.
Thank you very much, Rob. Yeah, I saw some of your emails about the thermal management issue. And I'm glad that you have that. You think you can fix it now. So I'll make sure I tell Majid. I've already sent him some of your emails. I'll tell him to make sure that he does the modification before he uses it. Yeah, if it's are you trying to subscribe to the Tapper Tangerine SDR listserv or the HAMSI Google group?
I think I was trying to do both, and I don't think I'm not on any just. I think I'm not on the list, or not. I'm not. They're a little unclear. I'm used to Groups.io, so they're not there, so they're a different place. And I did do a registration. I registered for for KFS as a grape receive site, but I just haven't had time to look into Bill Engel's email about how to modify Whisper Demon. But I'm sure by the time of the eclipse this fall, there should be a dozen or more Whisper Demon sites reporting Grape 2. It's probably only going to upload. From what I understand, Grape 2 is really the only useful format, or the more useful format, I should say.
Yes, Grape 2 is absolutely the more useful format. I can tell you that according to the Google groups, you are Rob at robinnet.us is a registered member of the HAMSI Google group.
Okay, well, I'll be okay. I'll make sure that I'll look through and see if maybe I'm already filtering them and missing them because they're in a subdirectory. Okay, sorry to hijack it. I just wanted to.
No, that was good news. We were glad to hear that.
Yes,
Yeah,
I went to bed on Monday a little depressed.
I was too, and just it's funny what you learn from people. My Wednesday group, I had one of the guys, Hams, is really an IT guy, not an RF guy, And I mentioned, that my 888 was broken permanent, and he said, "Oh, I do some audio stuff, and it has a distribution, sound things." And he said, "I had a audio processing device with that USB chip in it, and they overheated." And we did, and he said they were out in the sun, and we finally tracked it down. So it was a completely unrelated device, product with the same device in it. And he was the one who clued us in to start looking at the thermal problems. And in the course of the 3-hour long user group meeting, I had a guy, Clint was running an FLIR on it, looking at the hotspots and evaluating the whole design. So we've actually, I think, gained a lot of insights into what should be done for the tapper version of the of it from this process. But very simple. Even I, with no soldering required, you can fix a little Phillips screwdriver and some thermal foam and a fan probably. And I think we can make these 888s very useful.
Rob, I don't know if you saw my note, but do you know if anyone else has been having problems? They can see the spectrum, but the audio is garbled.
I'm sorry, if you can see what spectrum?
I can see the RF data on the spectrum display. I'm using SDR console.
Yes.
I can see it on the display, but I can't get clear audio.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, our analysis are kind of down at the USB level. We look at the IAD. But the symptom was that I ran it for a couple of weeks, and then in the middle of the day on Saturday, and I'm in a rather cool environment. In the middle of the day, my 888 just stopped working, wouldn't boot, and then I looked around and I heard some other people in the Tangerine group say, "Oh yeah, well, we've had some of our 888s go bad." So I've been just trying to alert everyone that once I learned this thermal problem yesterday, trying to broadcast out to others. This is a good device, but it has real thermal problems as it comes from the factory, and they
So
need
is
to be
this
fixed.
another user group that's working on it?
Yes, we have, primarily it's my Whisper Demon group, which meets on Wednesday mornings. And we're working with Phil Karn on the K9Q processing. It's the 888s really for us only useful if it can feed Phil's stuff, Phil's software library. So the combination of the two provide, if you guys haven't heard, with Phil's software, you can listen to 200 different channels from 0 to 30 megahertz at the same time on well, not a Pi, but it'll take a little, any little i5 computer, you can do that. So we can listen to and record all of the WWV channels, CHU, all the whispers, all the FTFT, decode it all on one little laptop. Phil's library is absolutely game-changing for RF signal processing. It's just a revolution from my perspective. And I'm getting significantly more spots out of the 888 than I'm getting out of the Kiwi. Interestingly, not better SNRs, but more spots. So there's a lot of work to be done. We're with the I think that there's a whole lot of work, but it's I think there's we're opening a new, maybe even Phil's opening a new chapter in signal, shortwave listening here with this library. So I'm just an implementer here. But
Very exciting.
Okay. Anyway, any other questions? I mean, you guys are welcome to my Wednesday morning. I can imagine you're all really excited about one more. and we're focused more on whispering and antennas and our processing than Doppler shifting at the moment. And we're working mostly with Phil. I mean, Phil is constantly, I'm in continual chat windows with him, and we're exchanging and working on things. The major, and now if you have your attention, the major area that I'm trying to explore is how we can measure time of flight.
Yeah.
And I mean, with greater accuracy, and Phil being, you know, the author of the decoder and whisper. I mean, he wrote the Fano decoder that's in there 25 years ago. So he's really a great source to bounce ideas about. And we do have some ideas where we could get time of flight measurements on the order of 10 kilometers resolution. And we will be, that's an area of exploration we'll go to once we get the 888 and his library and Whisper Demon all integrated and working. And once he's integrated and working, then I can start to make, one of the decoders he provides is IQ. So I can do IQ recordings from all the Whisper channels, and, you know, all the WWV channels. So that's, you know, that's why I haven't worked on Steve's, I'm Bill Engel's library yet, because I don't have access to the to Phil's because my 888 is broken. I can't receive signals at the moment, and then I can't really do any debugging on IQ recording and processing. But I think it'll, you know, I think it'll be more work for me to understand Bill's library than it will be to actually implement it. So.
But yeah, I'm really grateful for all the work you're doing, Rob, and your group is doing, because I think, you know, that even just the Whisper data that you're collecting and making sure that that works, and you're doing such a good job making the careful measurements of the noise and working on the Doppler and just all of this, I think it's going to really be very fruitful for the science effort. So
well, that's good. We're eager to have scientists look at the data and tell us what would make it more even more useful. I mean, we have our own ideas, but many of us are not radio scientists. We are definitely citizen scientists here, and we're looking to you, and we're hoping to, I think, entice you guys, into looking at our data. Now, Gwen has prepared an article that will be published in. He's got RSGSB or whatever magazine is going to publish an article by Gwen in their September issue, I think, which will describe how we're using the Doppler shift information from 4W to determine the path lengths and propagation paths. Specifically the side scatter path, which he has previously discussed. I think, I don't know if you guys saw that discussion, but he has pretty clearly identified that with the Doppler shift data from the 4W transmissions, we can identify periods when the propagation moves from being great circle to a side scatter path. And he can even identify pretty clearly where the path of the side scatter is. So he has an example in his article of a direct path from the UK to Austria. That's a great circle path most of the day, and then when the MUF goes down, there will be a side scatter path that reflects off of the Mediterranean above Algeria, and so the signal levels drop by 30 dB. The Doppler shift goes up from 30 millihertz, this is 20 meters, 30 millihertz to 200 or 300 millihertz of spreading. And but it's pretty clear that there are two locations where the side scatter could, where the circle of propagations intersect. One is Algeria, the other is above Ireland. Seems unlikely that it's going above Ireland, so it's almost certainly coming off of the Mediterranean above. So he's goes into voluminous detail and about how he comes to those conclusions. So those are the kinds of studies we'd hope that the researchers and especially academic researchers would be would take a look at the data sets that we're creating and make other explorations. You know, I mean, that we see other candidate locus of areas in the plots of SNR versus frequency spread. There are little locuses where most of the points are, but there are some points that we don't yet understand. Why are there, you know, why is the spreading high and the SNR side at this, you know, at these times and so on. So there's a wealth of data sitting there to be explored. And
Who wrote
potentially,
that, Rob?
right?
Who wrote that paper?
The paper is by Gwen, G3ZIL. And if you go to whisperdemon.org, there's a presentation and papers, technical papers link at the top, and that will lead you to the to his mostly. Gwen is our only real scientist. The rest of us are just engineers. So,
If
you know.
yeah, once that comes out, if you know, you or Gwen want to write up like a 1-paragraph summary, we'll be
Mhm.
happy to highlight it on the HamSci website.
Good. Well, there's I think there's I'll make sure that when things go out that I'll post it up so you guys can know that they've been that they're available to read. But Gwen is only one, you know, you can only look at a few things, and there's our database has a lot of other things that have yet to be explored. So and we want to add to the dimensions of what we measure. We're currently measuring, we've added to the resolution of the WSPR spot data in WhisperNet. We record it with a tenth of Hertz accuracy, which is still not enough for really Doppler shift measurements. We also record the spreading values, which have a resolution of about 5 millihertz. So we record that as well as the background noise information, but we hope to start to add in the future time of flight measurements for each of the spots. So we could tell you how long it took to go from the transmitter to the receiver.
So Rob, is this the propagation path analysis paper?
Yes, it is. Yeah, there is. I think there was Gwen or Nigel gave a presentation at Friedrichshafen.
Right.
And
I see that on the slide.
You could see that at the Friedrichshafen, or you see it on our site. He's doing I think he's doing a refinement or a variation on that. Gwen is doing it for this publication in September.
Yeah, I'm impressed. It was given the Ulrich Road Award.
Yeah, well, yes, it was. He was surprised and pleased. It was it was. I think.
No, I'll definitely be looking at that. I've been wondering how we would distinguish direct to side scatter paths.
Well, you can pretty
Perfect.
clearly we can see them, and but as I say, we want to go on. We want to look at polarization and at time of flight. So we're going to increase the temporal resolution of the measurements and the polarity resolution of the measurements. So that's these are multi-year projects. That's not going to happen. You know, that's both of them are going to take a lot of work for us to get there. So, but you know, we're open to suggestions from this group. If you want to, you know, if you think we should be making other kinds of measurements, we're certainly open to it. These things seem to us, you know, pretty straightforwardly important. But there may be other things that you guys would like us to measure that. But you know, we basically have now have very clearly, we have not just you know, the metadata of here's a spot and here's its SNR. We now know its absolute signal level relative to other signals at the same site, and we have greater frequency resolution. So now we're going with temporal and polarization measurements as the next steps in our process. So there's the developing the techniques, you know, to do so, hardware and software to make those resolutions, and then there's adding them to our database and making sure that they get recorded. So that's what we're up to. So hopefully, you know, I'm hoping that maybe Nathaniel, you get a graduate student there that they would, you know, find some time. Maybe I should try to get Phil to fund another graduate student for you to through the ARDC to analyze data.
Well, we're hiring a postdoc.
Yeah, I know you are, but I'm thinking he may be, you know, you may already have ideas for him. So I'm just.
Well, we have some ideas, but yeah, if we can get another graduate student, absolutely.
Well,
There's a lot of data to look at here. So graduate students, postdocs, anyone we can get.
There's
Absolutely.
just a wealth of data, and you guys have your, you know, all this grape data. So, and that's what you should be working, you know, looking at first.
Well,
of course.
we already have a graduate student dedicated to the grape. So I mean, you know, Rachel Bodeker, she's the grape graduate student. We're gonna have we have a postdoc who's supposed to be looking at SEQP data, or we will have a postdoc, and you know, so there are a lot of people, and but yeah, more would be welcome.
Well, I'm kind of joking, but a little bit, but we do have, you know, I am serious in part about maybe doing a grant application with your help, Nathaniel, to ARDC to deploy these new beacon blasters, which are.
I do think that would be really nice.
Yeah, so if you guys are aware of that, we have one of our members has created a product called the Beacon Blaster, which outputs simultaneously 6 whisper signals or 4W signals on 6 different bands simultaneously. So that if you connect that Beacon Blaster to a multi-band antenna, you will be getting whisper or 4W really, 4W signals on all of those bands simultaneously. So this device is targeted for the Eclipse. I mean, we want to have data, you know, transmissions on all of the reasonable bands continuously throughout the eclipse, you know, for the hour before and after at least.
How do we get it? How do we get one?
Yeah, how do you get one? Turn Island Systems, Paul WB6CXE is building has done a prototype run. 4 of them are already claimed for, but there's 6 that are available. They're not particularly cheap. I mean, that's, you know, handcrafted. So something like $700 is what he has mentioned as the price. He's not trying to make money on this. Paul is absolutely does not need to make money, but he does need to feel like he's kind of not funding people's deployments. But 4 of them are going to go out. There'll be mine I'm taking one to Winnemucca. There's another. There's going to be an all-band system from Clint in Utah. There'll be a similar system in New Mexico. These are all along the path of the annularity. And one is going to be deployed in Costa Rica. So there'll be a Costa Rica site that will be transmitting continuously on all those bands throughout the duration of the eclipse. This is a TI for JWC. So transmitting and receiving. All these sites will also be receiving all bands through the duration of the eclipse.
So it's TURN Island System.
Yeah. Let me see if I can dig it up and put it in the chat window. Again, I'm not sure if I'd email it to you if I'd get it to the right turnislandsystems.com. And this is Paul's website. Let's see. Where's the chat window? How do I get hide caption chat? Here. So yeah, what I've done is I've tested deployment of a end fed 80 to 10 meter end fed from commercially available from myantennas.com. $130 device, and put it on a 36 foot fiberglass mast. And you get, it gives you, you know, excellent efficiency on all the bands 80 through 10. And so we're going to connect up these Beacon Blaster 1s. This is, let's see if I can, let's see, where's his Beacon Blaster progress? He has, let's see if I share with you, you can see, the others can see it. Let's see, share screen. There, this one. So this is, scroll down on his site, and you can see this Beacon Blaster. This is what it looks like in its enclosed case. He has some up and running. Here's the further description farther down on his page of the architecture of it and the components that go into it. So one of the key elements is he's designed this combiner that takes 4 of the outputs, 80, 40, 20, and 10, and combines the 4 1-watt outputs, outputs of the 4 1-watt amplifiers, combines them together into one single RF output. So that can go up to a multi-band antenna. And he was able to design this using surface mount inductors. So this means that you know, it's ordered and assembled by in China. He doesn't have to do any of the soldering and so on. So you can see. So this is this is a product that I inspired him to build. So I felt like I owed it to him, and I wanted at least a couple of them. I have one at a site, as I say, in Winnemucca, and another in Santa Fe. So I'll have 2 sites transmitting and receiving along the path. And of course, this is all GPS, you know, Bogner driven. So everything will be, you know, accurate and stable and accurate to a millihertz on the bands.
This is
So,
fantastic, Rob.
I'm
Rob,
sorry?
what antenna were you using with that?
It's from you could build your own for a lot less money, but I bought one from myantennas.com.
One of their in-fed half waves?
It's an end-fed half wave. Hold on a second, here it comes. You'll see it.
Yeah, those are very good.
Yeah.
He says he's using off-center fed.
Yeah, this is, I get the low power one. Now, you don't, obviously, this is the 8010, I don't know where it is, but anyway, there's a slightly less expensive. You don't need a big balun, of course, with it.
Right.
And for $130, the whole thing comes completely assembled, and you have to do any balun winding. So you need, of course, a mast with it, and so I purchased a fiberglass extended fiberglass mast, which just barely fits inside my car when it's, of course, collapsed. And so I've got recruited a couple of hams who are going to meet me out there, and we're going to help me erect this this thing. It's a little awkward to put it up, but it's you know, it seems very effective, and so you should have a pretty solid signal running through the whole of the ham bands. His Beacon Blaster 6 has 6 outputs, but the component tolerances of surface mount devices didn't allow him to do a 8-band combiner. So if you're going to use the other 6, and he had a design that had 3 outputs, has basically 351s on it.
He says he's using off-center fed dipoles, which is another good choice because they're even harmonic bands.
Yeah, well, that's what any multi-band antenna. This end-fed is an example of a you know, a
Well, and
multi-band
fed
dipole.
hits all the harmonics. Off-center fed usually is evens. And of course, a dipole, center fed dipole is odd harmonics.
Yeah, well, that's so I'm thinking hopefully I'll be able to use all 6 channels, because I think my sense is that from looking at the band propagation positions and oh, now I recall Gwen's new paper for September, I believe, is going to be about a solar flare event that it directly hit in July, was directly hit North America. And in his paper, he shows the effect across all of the bands, across multiple sites, the absorption effects across all the bands through that flare. And interestingly, to me at least, you guys probably know this, is that there's a very sharp arrival time. So all the signals on all the bands, initially the higher bands, but eventually down through 40 meters, 80 meters, they all go away for about a half an hour. And then gradually they come back. So they taper back up. So that's an asymmetric kind of arrival, sharp arrival and slow return of the propagation conditions after the solar flare. So that's I think that's the paper he's publishing is on the solar flare event, or they may have been just something he presented to us yesterday. I can't remember. I've in so many meetings and I see so many papers, but I think that Gwen's work I would hopefully find use in the research community and the people you're hiring. Maybe Nathaniel might be interested in seeing what Gwen has gathered from the WSPR database, especially from the extended WSPR database. Is particularly interesting. So
I absolutely agree with that.
yeah. Okay. Anyway, any other questions? That's
I think we're good. I think I see a Gary AA said his grill is calling and he hears the dinner bell. So I guess it's our time to say 73 for the day, and we'll see you again next week.
I just wanted to say one thing before everybody took off.
Yeah.
Ward and Nathaniel, good read.
Yeah.
Thank you much.
I better order one, huh?
Yep.
I should have.
Yep.
I should have.
Very good read.
Mine comes tomorrow.
The next step.
I got mine.
The next step in that book is going to be answering a lot of questions about what it means to the average ham. I mean, there's a lot of serious technical information in there. And so there's a real opportunity here for ham speak, little short, videos and stuff. It would be really cool if we could assemble a website that was full of audio recordings that illustrate what some of this stuff sounds like meteor scatter, aurora spread, long path, and things like that. So, so what is this is a great book, but to the average ham trying to figure all this out, what the heck does it sound like?
It's helped me a lot. It's helped me a lot since I haven't finished reading it yet, but I just wanted to get that out before the end of the.
It's a great idea.
Great, thanks.
Duly noted. So
I've already lent mine out.
You need another one, yeah.
Now, there you go.
So it has a resale value as well.
But did you get a note from whoever you borrowed it, whoever you lent it to, swearing that if they don't return it undamaged, intact in a reasonable amount of time, that they owe you their entire retirement life savings?
Yeah. Well, I know where he lives. I was at his house for coffee this morning, so no problem.
Okay, in that case, he just owes you every piece of ham radio or electronic equipment he owns in working condition.
He has a hall of radios, most of which down the hall of his home, the main hall, most of which are over 100 years old. And he broadcasts through a little AM transmitter, the Lone Ranger, which he listens to frequently. Goes down the hall, sits down in a chair, turns on the 100-year-old radio, and listen to the Lone Ranger. Hams.
I have a bunch of old radios that are waiting to be rebuilt. What I want to do is turn on the ball game and listen to about 8 different old radios all pumping out that AM the ball game. So there you go. In my copious free time.
Oh, yeah, right.
See you guys. See you next week, maybe.
7-3, everybody.
73.
73.
7-3.
Bye.